I'm Maura Kolb. I'm the Director of Exploration at Treasury Metals. I joined a few months ago, and we've been exploring hard since then, from regional to infill exploration, trying to get Goliath and Goldlund into mining for a production decision.
Fantastic. Good to have you back on, Maura. We saw you, I think, at the end of July, where you were introduced to the world. So you've had your head down, been busy. How have things been there?
Very busy. We've had a wild summer. There's been forest fires in northwestern Ontario, so that threw a bit of a monkey wrench into our plans, but we were able to keep drilling, and we've had field crews and 3 drills running, so it's been very busy. I'm juggling lots.
Good, in at the deep end, and adding value. I hope. Well, look, today we're going to talk specifically about some of the exploration plans that you are starting to form, and some of the decisions that you're starting to make. Because we'll put links below to some of the previous conversations we've had with regards to business plan, strategies, team, outlook, etc. So do go there, folks, and check the links below. But today, it's all about you. You're front and center on this. So remind people what the task was that you've been set.
Absolutely. So this year we're planning on drilling 60,000 meters. Now that's the most this company has ever drilled in a year by far. We picked up Goldlund in the fall, so it's new to us, and that's added a huge strike length to our property. So now we have 65 kilometer strike length. Only 3 of that has really ever been truly explored. So we're tasked with, growing the resources that we have. We have a PEA resource right now. The 60,000 meters is really set to grow Goliath, infill the stopes and expand the pit. And then at Goldlund, see if we can grow those pits. It's very near surface mineralization. So can we extend pits, have additional satellites, and Miller as well as a small satellite on strike of Goldlund. So really infill, and then with that new land package, what else can we add to our portfolio?
Well, if I remember the conversation with Jeremy last time out, he was at pains to point out that this is a team of mine builders, right? That was the big difference here, because there's a bit of a turnaround story, because it's had a long and checkered history. The new team that's been assembled are mine builders. So this whole thing about growing resource, okay, that makes sense. But what are you going to do that's going to help Jeremy ensure that this thing gets into production?
Absolutely. So what we need to be doing is constantly updating our resource with a good geologic model. So, boots on the ground a few months ago, I was like, okay, we've got to get a better model here. We need to be looking at how each drill hole is affecting the resource. We're running, not quite live, as Jeremy said in the past, but we're running constant resource updates. So we've gone to 1 QP for all of the deposits. We've looked at that with SRK on how to best model our deposits to be, most geologically representable, and therefore have the best possible models. So we're running those constantly as we're drilling, so we can see how the drill results are adding to the resource.
Okay, so again, I'm going to keep referring back to promises which have been made, statements that have been made. Okay, so Jeremy is kind of keen to say, look, we were not entirely comfortable with the data as the company had previously laid out. The previous management team, previous time, so we get it. New team coming in, you want to validate that so you don't trip over your own shoelaces here. So what can you explain what that process involves?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been going through and validating the data. We've been going through a cleaning of all the drill hole data, as well as kind of compiling all of the regional data into a usable format. So my past background, I've done a lot of data compilation. I had worked with exploration with Watson in the past, so I know the value of data and being able to use all of that. So really push the team to integrate that into our big picture. So we're looking at how Goliath and Goldlund fit together. And then also what are the controls? Because, you can see companies drill a lot that doesn't add value because they don't really understand the geologic controls on their mineralization. So that's a huge focus for me and the team. I want you to be able to stop in and ask any geologist on my site, why is this gold here, and have them understand that.
Okay, so that's good. You want your team to be comfortable with that. You want the market to be comfortable with that. So let's talk about the data you inherited. You wanted to validate it. And so I sort of labor this point. I just think it's really, really important people, understand these sort of the switch point from what went before as to how it, moves forward with the new team. Are you finding that the old data was significantly questionable, or is it just partially, or in actual fact, you're pleasantly surprised by what you're starting to see? I mean, the process is an expensive one, and you want to make damn sure that you've made the decision to validate it has been justified. So are you finding errors, or is it actually, maybe...
pleasantly surprised with the data quality. It was kind of just the way it was set up. It was hard to use. So that's really been the turning point for us. Is the data is quite good. Really haven't found many issues, but it's putting it in a way that we can use it to improve our models. So, we log core and collect a bunch of data, but sometimes it's not captured in a way that you can actually integrate into a model and therefore use to find the next, gold deposit or the extensions.
Okay. So that's good news. I guess it's going to be a little bit more comforting to the marketplace and less, of a concern, which is great. So if we look at where you are today, so what more is there to be done? What's the process that you're going to continue, and when do we actually get to start seeing some of the numbers that you're producing?
We're running intern models right now. We've got one back on Goldlund, so we're pretty happy with the way without the first half of our drill results to date, or our drilling to date, we've seen how that's impacted the model. We're seeing positive results, pits growing, which is exactly what we wanted to see. And then we've just gotten Miller, so we're analyzing how that drilling we did this year impacts that pit. And we are days away from getting the new Goliath update. So then we'll be able to adjust our drill program to, better suit our next objectives. What else do we need to grow? Where do we need to infill to get that conversion so that we can, grow the mine plan? In addition to that, it really showed us with Goldlund, for example, really showed us where we want to focus, where the best grades are within the model. And now our team is we're doing step outs along strike of zone 1, where we have the best grades, more of a 1 gram material. And this is very shallow mineralization. So we're going out on strike of that and testing the satellites with the geophysics.
Okay. So because there's 2 components to this, right? There's you answering the question for Jeremy of how do I get this thing into being a mine? So the infill program is great. You've got to do that. And then you've also mentioned there that, well, I think that you've got quite a large land package, which is underexplored, if not has not been explored at all. And you're going to have to get on with that. But so how are you compartmentalizing that? Just both in terms of time, in terms of priority, in terms of dollars to be spent. I mean, you've clearly laid out the program that you want to follow. I hope you have. Can you kind of give us an insight into that?
Yeah, absolutely. We are about halfway through our drilling budget right now, a little over halfway at Goldlund and just over halfway at Goliath. And all of that focus has really been on resource conversion, growing the pits. Now that we see that is becoming successful and we're seeing, some growth internally in our initial reviews, we're selecting the satellites that we want to go after based on field work that we're doing. So we've had guys out on the ground, crawling over the rocks and trees and making sure that these targets look good. So it's pretty well about 70% focus on the resources that we have and how we grow them, small extensions, brownfield type of stuff. And then, a 25% effort on where else do we want to go within our land package? Where do we see the same patterns? Where do we see, different patterns that are even more exciting in like the geophysics, and then testing those.
Okay, so you mentioned just before we started filming that you've got some maps and some images that you might want to talk to. So I'm happy for you to share the screen if you want to, because I think it'd be a little bit easier to picture.
Absolutely. So this is our land package, and all the colors represent different rock units that we have. So one of the big pushes for my team was to think about Goliath, Goldlund, Miller in context with each other. And prior to this, we really were thinking about them separately. But we have, this huge 65 kilometer strike length how does the Goliath deposit relate to the Goldlund deposit and therefore Miller? And then what else do we have, as targets lurking within this? The Goldlund and Miller deposit are in one layer, I'd say, is a simple way to describe it. One layer of the greenstone belt, and Goldlund is in a lower layer of the greenstone belt. So we have typical lode gold style mineralization at Goldlund and Miller, and we have a VMS style mineralization at Goliath. And that gets me excited because we're looking at a belt here that's barely been explored, and we see two different styles of mineralization, which means, there's a lot of possibilities for discovery in this belt. Surprising to me is we have, road access right through here, and so little exploration has been done. Logging is very active in the area, and, there's new exposures all the time. So my team is crawling the ground, finding rocks all the time, way more than you'd expect.
And what's that do for you? I mean, again, people write into us here. I can't certainly realize how little some of the investors actually understand about the process that you guys go through. I mean, they literally think it starts day one with drilling. Let's go drill. Got to drill. Easy. So
well, you can do it that way, but you're drilling blind. And the beauty of this area is we don't have a ton of cover. So, we have these felsic units that are resistant to erosion. So they actually, stick out in the ground. They make these hills. So we can go out and we can pull back some moss and we can see the rocks before we get into drilling. We don't have a lot of overburden. So, we can actually fly geophysics here, and we have great coverage, and we can see, the patterns of the host rocks, which are related to contacts. So we can see those contacts and we can go after them.
Okay, interesting. So how big is the team now? I mean, you're building that side of things up as well? Because obviously you're hiring, there's lots of new board members, but what's happening on the ground?
On the ground, we've grown as well. So we're at 16 people now. We have a very local staff, in fact. I think just going to jump back a slide.
Oh, there's the photos.
Show you some of the people.
Oh, I like one of them.
I know. Ginger is the mascot for Goldlund. She's been there forever, and
look at those ears.
Can't come on site unless she agrees.
Right. Sorry, getting distracted. No. Right, so this is the team.
Yeah, this is the team. So we are 70% local to the Dryden Sioux Lookout area. We've got the next 25% is all from northwestern Ontario, and then, one person is from out of town. So we're a really local workforce, which is fantastic because it drives consistency and that care about the area you're working in and seeing something succeed. I've built lots of teams in the past, and I really drive to get people to be local, to be part of the community. It's just so important. So the team is fantastic. We're actually also, about 50-50 men and women at this point in our exploration team.
It looks like 45 and Ginger to me.
And Ginger, yeah.
That's great. Okay, so whilst we're on this, I guess the local component. We talked to lots of companies about this. We've got to talk ESG. You've got to talk about social license to work in a region, and obviously local employment. Is beneficial. I mean, is there someone on there who has to deal with that? Because the thing that comes up with investors in terms of concern about jurisdictional risk. Obviously, Canada's a great place to do business, but the First Nations component does come up as a concern more and more these days. I mean, how do you manage that? Yeah,
so we try to work with all the communities around us, have as many people employed as possible from all the communities. We've got Rachel and Mark working directly with the communities. But I mean, from my perspective on exploration, we're working with a First Nation owned drill company at Goldlund. We are outreaching to all community aspects for hiring. So, we're looking for core technicians right now, and we've gone to all the local First Nations communities and posted on the local community boards as well to find those hires.
Okay, fine. Okay, so the team in place and cracking on with it, scouring the earth. So what else are you going to be showing us? Because I know you want to talk through some of the maps and how you're sort of attacking things.
Yeah. So we'll start first at Goliath. I mean, we've talked a lot about Goldlund with the last few press releases, but I just wanted to touch base first on Goliath. It's really the flagship for us. great deposit. It's going to be open pit and underground, and what we've been doing there. So the main focus, we've done about 14 holes on the main and C zone, and there we're focused on, expanding the deep underground mineralization. So we've got the PEA shells, and we've also got the PEA underground designs. And what we've been doing is really targeting infill in those high-grade chutes to expand the underground stope shapes. We've also spent about 10 holes now on a western, more shallow extension, and that will expand the pit to the west a bit. We're just wrapping that part of our exploration program up on Goliath, and we're going to move over to the northeast target, which would be just northeast of the Goliath Gold Project. And then we're looking at the Fold Nose exploration target and far east. What gets me excited about these is the company in the past has been really focused on, drilling the main and C zone at Goliath, and has only done a small amount of work on step out exploration. But we've seen in these targets the same signatures that we have at Goliath. And Goliath is a beautiful zone where you have an alteration signature. You also have mineralization, so you can visually see when you're in the mineralized zone. So to have that host rock and the alteration in areas that have been hardly explored, it gets us really excited to get out there. I'm an explorer, of course, so I want to see what else we can add to this picture. And very close to where the mill will be in the future. See this dotted line here? That's the power line, and that's really close to where the mill infrastructure is going to be. So, we're talking right next to the operation.
So I'm just looking at this map. It's kind of crazy. It looks like modern art to me. Are you looking at land consolidation as part of what you're doing? Because you're talking about saying you want to kind of build up the picture here, and obviously it's much underexplored. So surely one of the first things you've got to do is look at the land packages.
Yes. And so we have a contiguous land claim. So that means it's all connected from the Miller Goldlund property all the way down to Goliath. So, that's beautiful. It makes it very easy for us to keep all those claims in good standing and to explore the area. But, we're looking at how do we understand the belt that we're in? How do we use all the data available for us? So, there's a lot of public data available to us. So let's use all of that so that we know our neighborhood the very best. And if there's any opportunities in it, we can capitalize on them. So that's, in the background, something that I'm working on with my team.
Okay, and the reason I ask that is because if I look at something, you look at Far East exploration, right? And you've got a big sort of chunk there, which I assume is not yours, just sitting south of that little gold fleck that we see there. So, is that a long process? Is it an expensive process? Is it something you want to do but won't be able to do? I just want to know sort of the ins and outs and sort of the things you have to deal with.
Certainly. Down here in the Goliath area, there are, we're very close to town, as you can see, the Wabigoon Township just below us. So there are local landowners. We have some surface rights owners that are areas where, we could explore below, but not, on their property from surface. So there are some things to contend with there, but we're always watching and speaking with the landowners, negotiating if we could pick up property. And we've done that quite a bit in the past. So we've been slowly growing the Goliath land package that way.
Okay, fine. Okay, so right, what else are we going to look at? Because the purpose of today really is to say, one, you're busy, there's a plan, and it's evolving, and trust me, it's going to be okay. We're going to be in mine. Those are the answers I want. Okay,
well, I will quickly go through a few videos I prepared. So just to show you what we've been working on in terms of the geology understanding. So, looking at Goliath, where is the mineralization? Well, it's in this felsic, which is the yellow color unit. And then what does it look like? So it's a nice continuous panel. We've got the pit here and the stopes here in black. So, what we've been drilling is kind of extending, filling in these gaps and holes where we don't have stope shapes right now so that we can grow this resource. So, that's what we're looking at. Where is it located? Right here within this felsic unit, that's the yellow color there that I mentioned before. And we just talked about those exploration target step outs. So, these extensions are very close by and have been completely untested. So we've got quite a strike length just here on this felsic unit that has been very little tested to the west and to the northeast. So those are some of the first priority targets that we're on right now.
Okay, so that's Goliath.
That's Goliath, yeah. And if we can jump to speaking about Goldlund. So you've seen this slide before when I was last speaking with you on the July results. So just wanted to tell everybody what the plan is going forth and where we're going to be stepping out. This year, the focus has really been all around the PEA pits. How can we expand them? And we're seeing the results from our internal block model updates that, we've been successful in that. We're waiting on a lot of results, unfortunately. Lab turnaround times are 5 to 7 weeks right now. So that's a frustration, but we have seen, we want to focus on zone 1, which has our best grades. So where we're headed right now, actually today, we're moving out on zone 1 extension. We've used the geophysics, and I will jump to this video here to help us understand Goldlund and our exploration targets. So this image is showing a vertical derivative from the magnetics. So what that tells everybody is, differences in the rock types. So the bright pink colors and the blue colors just show different types of rocks. They have different signatures. That's all. We do a lot of pattern recognition in geology, but we make it sound fancy. So we'll just play this here. The Goldlund deposit is in here. This pink unit that I'm showing now is our model of our felsic unit that hosts the gold mineralization. And now you can see the pits coming in, and they're really right on top of that unit. So it's really important for us to understand where that intrusion is, because on the contact is where our best gold grades are. I mentioned this strike length a bunch of times, but we really have quite an underexplored strike length with the same pattern going on. So we've been looking at where do we see, disruptions in that will give us, fluid pathways for the gold fluids to come through, and where do we see really interesting different structures. And that we see in the south there, where we see this big fold coming between two plutons, scrunching the unit that's been hosting gold for us at Goldlund up. And that's where my team is out combing the forest right now, looking for outcrops to say, hey, do we potentially have something that could be a high grade, deposit here? The Goldlund itself is, pretty train track, really straight stratigraphy, which is rock units. And down here, we know we have this complex folding, and that's where you see higher grade gold deposits like, Red Lake, which I'm very familiar with. But, we see Musselwhite as a folded, structurally controlled deposit too. So, looking at those things, could we get a nice higher grade mineralization shoot down here? So that's what we're looking at right now in the Goldlund land package.
Fantastic. Okay, so so have you got more?
No, I'm just actually going to stop sharing. I wasn't sure if I had anything else.
Fantastic. Okay, no, what I was keen to do is listen to you today and sort of see what are you up to, what are you trying to do, and you talked about saying you're seeing pattern recognition, great. You're starting to try and identify the controls that you hoped were there. But the important thing that I've heard today from you is that the data which has been presented to the market previously, which in its past, you're saying isn't that far off what you're seeing now. So there's going to be no big surprises in terms of resource, etc. You're suggesting to us. Can you say with some degree of confidence?
Yeah, I'm really pleased with the way Jeremy and the team decided to go with a very conservative approach on the resource. And you won't see us change drastically from that. We are modeling Goliath more to match the geometry. So we'll be a little bit of a change in that. It's a continuous but narrow high grade extension. So we've modeled that a little bit more to capture the geometry, but you won't see a big change in these resources. The data was really good. I've been so impressed with the way the team has cared for the work they've done. It's fantastic.
Okay, so that's good news. And with the infill drilling going on, you're going to give more certainty to what you've got and possibly grow it. That's the idea?
Yeah, that's the idea, to grow the
Right.
resource. And our internal indications are showing so far that we're, successful at expanding those pits at Goldlund, and we're going to see soon the Goliath update. So I'm excited for that.
You're excited. The market wants to be excited about it. So let's talk about timing on that. Because I think you talked about being 53% of the way through the drill program on Goliath, 62 on Goldlund. So when do we get to hear the good news?
So internally, we're going to start seeing the updates of the models, next week for Goliath. So by the end of the year, we're hoping to have our resource, or early in the new year, our resource out. We want to see all these results that we have pending integrated into those. So that's kind of the frustration right now, is we've got about a quarter of our drilling for the year that we're seeing results from in our resource updates internally, and we want to see the rest of them. So
right, okay. And what sort of delays are we talking about? It seems to vary depending on which company I speak to. How are you doing up there?
So we're getting about 5 to 7 week delay on turnaround time, which you would like to see at a 2-week turnaround time. So it's frustrating, but there's a lot of activity in northwestern Ontario, and they're having trouble keeping up.
It's not too bad. We've heard 12. So
that's bad.
That's bad. So you're somewhere in the middle. Okay, so Q1, hopefully, of course, you want as much of that data in as possible. And then what? Does that then open up your? Well, actually, I won't suggest it. What does that allow you to do once you've announced that? What do you specifically do? What does the exploration team specifically do?
For me, it's a constant update. So every time I see a new model and see new pits, we can tweak the plan to then better suit the results we've gotten. And that's really important, having that constant iteration. So we'll keep adjusting that. The exploration work we're doing, the small, 25% of our plan this year, that will get us to where we're going next. We really want the hub and spoke model to work here, and we have excellent land package. So, I want to, organically grow those spokes.
Okay. And do you think, and we talked a little bit about your background last time, but let's do a little bit of it again here, which is there anything from your previous experience which you think, actually, this is fantastic, I am absolutely going to be able to use that in a relevant way here, because we're seeing some of the same problems, challenges, opportunities? That's
the beauty of working in gold, is that, I've been able to go to several different camps and see kind of their history and how they've grown. So, my last stint was about 8 years in Red Lake, and to see the history of that camp, where they first found these granitoid hosted gold, which is what we have at Goldlund, and then see it grow as they went outside of that. I can see us having a camp like that here in the Goliath Gold Complex, where we start with a few small deposits that were, easily found on surface because they're not eroded, and then start looking for the things that are undercover, that are a little bit harder to find, and being able to grow this. I mean, that's why I joined this group. Looking at different camps and kind of having that, my background is also in research of gold deposits. So I looked at, how these things grow and how they're found. So I think that ties into why I came, and then, what we can do here. I've also been part of bringing projects online into commercial production. So constantly growing the infill and then bringing it into production so that we have a mine. That's why I wanted to be here for this process as well.
Right, fantastic. So nothing's changed. Number one target for you as a team, and you're doing your bit, is get this thing into production. There's nothing that you've seen suggests to you that's going to be more problematic than we perhaps envisaged.
No, when I came to this project, it was like fantastic to get to open it up and see it all in 3D and just see, Goliath looks like something that's beautiful to mine. To me, as a geologist, we'll be able to follow those stopes underground, continue on drifts, follow the mineralization, because you can see it. You can see it when you're logging core, and that's fantastic. Goldlund is so shallow that we can, find more of it on strike. We have a huge strike length to keep exploring for it. So it's pretty exciting, and I see, a lot of opportunity.
Maura, thank you very much for the update. That's wonderful. It was just kind of slightly refreshing, because I like the story because it's a nice turnaround story. The team have got the track record, et cetera, including yourself. And it's just nice to sort of see that you dip into it between now and I guess Q1 next year, when you announce to the market whatever it is that you announce, and see you working towards that number one goal: get this thing into production, genuinely get it into production, not talk about it. So appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice to speak with you again.